Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng Equilibrium Probiotics. Ito ay ang bagong
Good morning. Saga naman yan, brother. Tagay niya na. Good morning.
Para mapangalagaan ang inyong kalusugan. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay dinisenyo para sa kalusugan ng ating tiyan, tulungan ng pagkuha ng sapat na nutrisyon at ang pagpapalabas sa ating sistema ng mga nakakasirang toxins. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may iba't ibang disenyo at sangkap base sa inyong pangangailangan. Mula sa boost para sa mga bata, fortitude, boost to great, miracle fruit, very weekend, at ang pinakabago, liver fruit. Ang Equilibrium Probiotics ay may pagmamalaki na produktong gawa sa China. Ito ay mabibili sa Lasien, Geta Road, San Sebastian, Phase 3, Binauganan, Tarlac City. At para sa mga malalayong lugar, mabibili din ang produkto ng Equilibrium Probiotics sa Lazada. Ito ay eksklusibong gawa ni Dinan Malu Reyes Luray. Ano pang hinihintay nyo, mga kasangga? Hala, bili na! MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga. Hatid sa inyo ni Kuya Eric.
Magandang umaga po. Mga takapakinig natin sa ating FB Live, mga nanonood sa FB Live, at siyempre naman yung ating mga suki sa TikTok. Good morning! Nandito naman po ang inyong Kuya Dong at maghahatid sa inyo ng pagbabalita dito sa MSB Kape at Balita sa Umaga. At bago po natin simulan ang ating pagbabalita, samahan niyo po muna ako sa isang maikling panalangin. Damayin po natin ang mahal na presensya ng ating Panginoon. Sa ngalan ng mga anak ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Mahal naming lumikha, maraming salamat sa bagong araw na itinagkaloob ninyo sa amin. Sa mapagpalang gabing lumipas, at sa patuloy na pagbuhos ng iyong mga biyaya sa amin at sa aming bayan. Naway ipagkaloob mo pa sa amin ang lakas at tibay ng loob upang mapaglabanan ng kasamaan at manatili po kami sa paggawa ng mabuti sa kapwa at pagsunod sa inyong itinurong tamang landas. Lahat ng gawain namin, inaalay namin sa iyong anak na si Jesus, naming Panginoon. Amen. Sa ngalan ng Ama ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. natin na po simulan ang ating pagbabalita. Again, and here is the summary of our updates for today. From Philippine Star, AFP PCG boost patrols versus Chinese ships in West Philippine Sea. Don't waste rice, order only what you eat. President Marcos to meet with hog poultry raisers. And for our global update, trip to China aims at avoiding miscalculations. U.S. top diplomat. $46,442 Pinoys abroad register for next polls. Quiapo Church now a national shrine. And finally, with sports, Gilas improving by the day. Starting off our headlines. AFP PCG boost patrols versus Chinese ships in West Philippine Sea. Report by Evelyn Macairan to the Philippine Star. The Philippine Coast Guard and the Armed Forces of the Philippines will intensify patrols in Iroquois Reef after 48 Chinese militia vessels were sighted near the area in the West Philippine Sea. We intend, with the guidance and approval of the Commandant of the PCG, Admiral Artemio Abu, we would deploy 2 PCG vessels to follow up to drive the Chinese maritime militia away from the Iroquois Reef. PCG WPS spokesperson Commodore J. Tariela told Radio DZBB yesterday, the Chinese militia's usual strategic objective is to occupy a particular maritime feature, to swarm the area for a very long period of time, and if you fail to notice them, they would increase their numbers eventually. Tariela explained. The 48 Chinese maritime militia in Iroquois Lake were spotted last June 30, according to the AFP. Tariela recalled that when Chinese militia vessels swarmed Sabina Shoal last March, the PCG deployed 2 ships. We have noticed that once we publicize this kind of swarming activity, the Chinese maritime militia would become compliant when we ask them to leave. This is because we made the public aware of their swarming activity and they would be condemned by the international community. Embassies would be speaking out to criticize these kinds of activities of China, Tariela said. That's why we deploy our government assets. They would leave the area. They are driven away immediately, he added. The Iroquois Reef and Sabina Shoal, found in the southern part of Rectobac, have a lot of service contracts when it comes to oil exploration, Tariela said. Iroquois Reef is approximately 128 nautical miles from Palawan and falls within the country's exclusive economic zone. C-17 Globe Masters. Meanwhile, Senator Amy Marcos questioned the presence of the United States Air Force C-17 Globe Masters in Manila and Palawan. Too little is known about ongoing U.S. military activity in our country, while we constantly call out the presence of Chinese vessels in the South China Sea, Marcos noted. I am aware of ongoing exercises with foreign militaries this month, but the same zeal in tracking any violations in our maritime territory and EEZ must also apply where Philippine air traffic rules and joint military agreements with the U.S. are concerned, she added. The Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, chaired by Marcos, released a statement on July 9 after U.S. flight planners failed to coordinate beforehand a military plane landing in Manila's International Airport last week. Global Flight Tracker AirNav Systems revealed that a U.S. Air Force C-17 with flight code MC-244 and RCH-244 landed in Manila on Friday morning after leaving the Anderson Air Force Base in Guam. The C-17 then flew to Palawan before 1 p.m. and headed for Yokota Air Base in Fusa, Japan later in the afternoon. Commercial flight passengers at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport also noticed two U.S. military planes near the runway. On Saturday, a C-17 with flight code RCH-323 took off from Tokyo and flew toward Polillo Island before exiting the Philippine territory past 6 p.m. Marcos called on military defense and foreign affairs officials to determine if covert U.S. military flights aggravated the already tense situation in the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait. China's irresponsible acts. The U.S. does not want the Association of Southeast Asian Nations to adopt its views or choose a side, but to push back against irresponsible acts that China carried out over the past years. We have seen an upward trend of unhelpful and coercive and irresponsible Chinese actions in the South China Sea. Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs Danielle Crittenbrick said in a briefing on July 7. In our view, it is not a matter of getting countries on board with the US view. It's a matter of working with our ASEAN partners to advance our shared view and vision of the region, Crittenbrick said. We're not asking countries to choose. We're simply ensuring that countries have choice and ability to make their own sovereign decisions free from coercion. I think all countries in ASEAN want to make their own decisions. They don't want to be pushed around or bullied by anyone, he added. Crittenbrick said US will further strengthen the comprehensive strategic partnership with ASEAN. We have a regional strategy of which China is a part and not the other way around. And what that means is our focus is on building our partnership, strengthening our relationships, and that's what we'll continue to work on going forward, Crittenbrick said. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken will visit Jakarta on July 13 and 14 to participate in the US ASEAN Ministerial Meeting, the 13th East Asia Summit Foreign Ministers Meeting, and 30th Annual ASEAN Regional Forum. Modernized PCG. Senator Bongo filed Senate Bill number 2112 to modernize the PCG. Our Coast Guard serves as the frontline defense against threats like smuggling and terrorism. Additionally, they provide invaluable assistance during natural disasters and emergencies, Goal said. However, our Coast Guard faces several challenges that hamper their effectiveness, including outdated equipment, inadequate training, and insufficient funding. Hence, I am proposing this bill to address these issues and modernize our Coast Guard to better protect our country and our people, he added. If enacted into law, the PCG will undergo a comprehensive modernization program designed to eliminate accidents at sea, expedite response times during search and rescue operations, and bolster national security efforts. Moreover, this bill will establish a system of accountability and transparency in managing the Coast Guard's resources and operations. It guarantees efficient and effective use of the allocated funds for modernization of our Coast Guard, Go said. Additional report from Cecil Suerte. From Cecil Suerte Felipe. Moving on to our next update. Don't waste rice. Order only what you can eat. Report by Bella Carriazo to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. The National Irrigation Administration Administrator Eduardo Guillen over the weekend called on the public to stop wasting rice amid the possible shortage in supply as the El Nino phenomenon threatens the country's palay production. The wastage of food is a big factor. We are appealing that if we cannot consume the entire 1 cup of rice, we should only order half. All the stakeholders should help to make the task easier, Guillen said. At the same time, Guillen said the local government units should also conduct the necessary preparations to minimize the impact of the dry spell in their respective jurisdictions. We are appealing for unity. We call this bayanihan. The LGUs can help more as they are the missing link. As a former mayor of Pidig, Ilocos Norte, I know that LGUs can help us. They have their own funds, he added. Food supply threat. Farmers Group, Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food Incorporated, or PICAFI, President Danilo Fausto, warned that El Nino phenomenon threatens the country's food supply next year as he criticized the Department of Agriculture for lack of concrete actions to minimize the impact of the dry spell. Their DA programs on El Nino are clear, but the issue is in the implementation, Fausto said in a radio interview over the weekend. He noted that farmers groups have been urging the DA to implement necessary preparation to ensure that farmers will be able to plant despite dry spell. You need infrastructures. It requires bidding budget. If you only start to provide funding, it will be too late, Fausto said. The diversion dams canal need repairs. Lateral canals cannot supply water from the dam because of leaks, he added. The Picati official noted that 75% of the country's palay production comes from irrigated areas. If the government fails to supply water, our palay production will be affected and this will be felt during the first semester of next year, he added. Fausto said that aside from palay, also affected by the dry spell are cash crops, including vegetables and root crops. Cash crops are vegetables, including root crops and onions are being planted near the rivers. If you don't have water for irrigation, you cannot provide water for the cash crops. Even if you have deep wells, the water will also be affected, he said. According to Fausto, the government should not depend on importation as the El Nino is a worldwide phenomenon. The dry spell is also happening in Thailand, Vietnam, where we import rice. What if we cannot also buy rice from them as El Nino also affects them? These are frightening scenarios, Fausto said. He said that retail prices of food will also increase because of limited supply. If there is a shortage in the supply, it will result in a spike in retail prices. The poor, or 30% and below the country's population, will suffer because they cannot afford to buy rice. The rich can always buy regardless of the price, he noted. Fausto said that government should hasten the construction of secondary dams, impounding systems to provide water for irrigation. This should be done while it is still raining, although we are already experiencing below normal rains. The effect of El Nino is really frightening, as definitely the result is shortage in the supply of food, he said. In a separate statement, Kilosang Magbubukid ng Pilipinas Chairperson Danilo Ramos said that the government's El Nino Task Force and the National Irrigation Administration should inform the farmers of the plan of action to address the possible shortage of water supply for irrigation. We want to know NIA's concrete plans on how to help farmers cope with El Nino and how to ensure the availability of rice and food crops despite extreme weather events, Ramos said. Livelihood assistance. Gillian said that among the worst-case scenarios being eyed by the NIA is to provide alternative livelihood assistance to farmers who cannot plant because of the dry spell. We have an estimate on the farmers who may be affected by the dry spell under the worst-case scenario. For those who cannot plant, at least they will be given alternative livelihood through the TUPAD, Tulong Panghanapbuhay sa Ating Disadvantaged Displaced Workers of the Department of Labor and Employment. There is also the Department of Social Welfare and Development's Cash for Work, Food for Work programs, he added. Gillian also called on the Department of Budget and Management to provide additional funding for the repair of damaged irrigation facilities. We are asking the DBM to increase the budget of NIA so that we can construct and repair our irrigation canals and at the same time provide livelihood to our farmers, he said. Moving on to our final top headline, President Marcos to meet with hog poultry raisers. Report by Bella Carriazo to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. President Marcos will meet with hog and poultry raisers groups today as flooding of imported and smuggled pork and chicken products has been plaguing the local industry. In an interview with the Star over the weekend, United Boiler Raisers Association, UBRA, and Philippine Egg Board, PEB Chairman Gregorio San Diego said the consultation at Malacanang at 2 p.m. would be a venue for poultry and hog raisers to relay to the President the problems affecting the local industry. We will see what the outcome of our meeting with President Marcos will be, San Diego said. He added that stakeholders meeting was arranged by the National Agriculture and Fishery Council, NAFC, after a consultation with officials of the Department of Agriculture, DA, led by Senior Undersecretary Domingo Panganiban 2 months ago. We hope the meeting will become productive for the sake of the local industry, as he said he wants to be the Secretary of the DA to help the agriculture sector. San Diego said, referring to Marcos. Hog and poultry raisers will air their concerns as the local industry continues to suffer amid the unabated smuggling and flooding of imported meat products, according to UBRA and PEB chief. We will speak up, and this is on record. Our members will no longer accuse us of failure to voice our concerns, as it will be the President who will hear our issues, he said. He added that, if not addressed, the unabated flooding of imported and smuggled meat products will kill the local industry. The importers and smugglers continue to control the agricultural commodities. It started in 2016, where the retail prices of garlic reached 300 peso per kilo, San Diego said, adding, adding that local production is less than a percent of domestic requirement. He noted that the scheme is being done with other farm products like onion, chicken, and pork. Importers are getting rich as they are involved in technical smuggling where there is misdeclaration of imported products like chicken and pork, San Diego said. During the stakeholders meeting with Pangaliban, DA officials reported that the inventory of boilers is good for 110 days, according to the San Diego. This does not include the data of imports. I told Senior Undersecretary Pangaliban at that time that the importation should be stopped as we have oversupply of local broiler production. The importation should only be meant to augment the local supply. But what is happening now is it replaces the local supply as the local production dwindles because of over-importation, San Diego said. At the same time, he predicted that the local poultry industry would die because of unabated importation. It will kill the local industry as our as our children are hesitant to continue our business because they see our sufferings. Just like in the retail prices of onions, once the smugglers, importers control the supply, they will control the prices, San Diego said, referring to the situation in December last year, where the bulbs reached as high as 720 per kilo amid shortage and hoarding in the supply. He also expressed doubt whether Marcos's order to the Department of Justice and National Bureau of Investigation to go after smugglers, hoarders, and cartel of agricultural products will succeed. First, he did not give a timeline. It's difficult if it's open-ended. He did not specify if there is a deadline, San Diego said. He added that Marcos's promises, especially during his second State of the Nation address, SONA, will be useless if there will be no concrete action. Words are not important to us. What is important is actions. During his first SONA, he promised to subsidize the feeds and the high costs. No actions were made to bring down the prices. Until now, local productions are suffering because of high feed costs, San Diego said. He added that Marcos only visited DA thrice in a year as secretary of the department. He was so busy and he also frequently travels abroad. Since his assumption as DA secretary, it was only his third time to visit the DA during its recent anniversary. We were hoping since he is the president, he can easily remove corrupt officials. They are still there, no less than his sister, Marcos said that he should sack officials, but nothing happened. The farmers are suffering, San Diego said. They also criticized the National Meat Inspection Service for its failure to release the list of cold storage facilities operating illegally. Moving on to our global news, trip to China aims at avoiding mass miscalculations, U.S. top diplomat. Report from Agence France Press to the Philippines. Washington, United States. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said Friday that his coming visit to China aims to open up better communications by addressing misperceptions and avoiding miscalculations. Intense competition requires sustained diplomacy to ensure that competition does not veer into confrontation or conflict, Blinken said. That is what the world expects of both the United States and China. Blinken will hold talks Sunday and Monday in Beijing on the first trip by a top U.S. diplomat in nearly 5 years. The trip was scheduled after the United States canceled the planned Beijing visit by Blinken in February after Washington said it detected and later shut down a Chinese spy balloon. The first goal of the trip to China, Blinken said in a press conference, is to establish open and empowered communications so that our two countries responsibly manage our relationship. He said the aim was also to set the record clear on U.S. interests and values and to explore areas of possible cooperation, including on global economic stability, fighting drug trafficking, and climate and health issues. He added he would raise the issue of U.S. citizens detained by China. China has detained a number of U.S. citizens on various charges, including Kai Li, a businessman accused of spying in 2016, and David Lin, an American pastor held since 2006. Blinken was speaking in a joint press conference with visiting Singapore Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan. Balakrishnan said the Asian region had its eye on U.S.-China relations, calling it the challenge of the century. This is a very important and critical moment, not just for the United States and China, he said. The rest of the world will be watching, so we hope and believe that you will be able to manage the differences, he said. Irresponsible bullying. The visit comes as relations between the two superpowers have been particularly strained on the issue of Taiwan, on China's ambitions to expand its political and security influence around the globe, and on economic relations. Washington officials recently said China has set up intelligence operations in Cuba, just off the southeastern U.S. coast. And on Thursday, a major U.S. cybersecurity firm, Mandiant, said online attackers with clear links to China are behind a vast cyber espionage campaign targeting U.S. government agencies. Earlier this week, Danielle Crittenbrink, the top State Department official for East Asia, stressed that the United States was realistic about what Blinken could achieve in China. We are not going to Beijing with the intent of having some sort of breakthrough or transformation, Crittenbrink said, told reporters. In Beijing Friday, Foreign Chinese Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said the United States need to work together with China to improve relations, Xinhua reported. The United States views China as a primary rival with the most consequential geopolitical challenge. This is a major strategic misjudgment, said Wang in a press briefing. He stressed that competition was not a zero-sum game and that the U.S. demands should not deprive China of its legitimate right to development. This is not responsible competition, but irresponsible bullying. It will only push the two countries towards confrontation and create a divided world, said Wang. Moving on to our regional News update. $46,442 Pinoys abroad register for next polls. O yung mga nagbabalak-balak dyan sa barangay election, barangay NSK election. Report by Mayan J. Malik to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. Over 46,000 Filipinos staying overseas have reported to be able to participate in the next national elections, according to the Commission on Elections. Since the opening of the reception of applications for overseas voters on December 9, 2022, the running total of registration turnout as of July 6 is 46,442. The COMELEC reported over the weekend. The poll body said the highest number of applicants came from the North and Latin Americas with 16,851, followed by those in the Middle East and Africa with 11,011 applicants. There were also 8,921 applicants from Asia Pacific and another 7,055 from Europe. Another 2,604 applicants filed their applications with the COMELEC's office for overseas voting. The COMELEC set the filing period for the applications for overseas voter registration from December 2022 until September 2024. The COMELEC previously signed a memorandum of agreement with the Commission on Filipinos overseas for the reestablishment of local field registration centers for overseas voting with the CFO's premises. Those qualified to register as overseas voters are Filipinos abroad who are not otherwise disqualified by law and are at least 18 years old by May 12, 2025. Applications may be filed at any Philippine post abroad at designated registration centers outside the Philippine Post or in the country. Quiapo Church now a national shrine. Report by Evelyn Macairan to the Philippine Star. Good news for devotees of the Black Nazarene. Manila, Philippines. Quiapo Church, formerly known as St. John the Baptist Church or Parish, has been elevated to the status of a national shrine, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines has announced. CBCP News reported that the bishops during the group's 126th plenary assembly in Aklan approved the petition of Manila Archbishop Jose Cardinal Advincula yesterday and declared the church as the country's 29th national shrine. In granting Advincula's petition, the CBCP bestowed upon Quiapo Church the title of National Shrine of the Black Nazarene. Over the years, Quiapo Church has attracted millions of devotees all over the world because of the stories of miracles and prayer requests that the Black Nazarene is believed to have granted. Quiapo Church serves as the home of the centuries-old image of the Black Nazarene and as a prominent landmark for pilgrims all over the country. Since the translation or the transfer of the image from Intramuros to Quiapo in 1787, Quiapo Church has emerged as a center of devotion for Filipinos. What was once a parochial feast held every January 9, it is celebrated by devotees in various parts of the country and abroad. Last May 10, Advincula elevated the church to the status of an archdiocesan shrine. St. John Paul II elevated the church to the status of the minor basilica of the Black Nazarene in 1987 due to the significant role in fostering profound popular devotion to Jesus Christ and his cultural impact on the religious practices of Filipinos. Moving on to our final news update in sports. Gilas improving by the day. Report by Olmin Leiba to the Philippine Star. Manila, Philippines. Gilas Filipinas coach Chuck Reyes expressed satisfaction with the progress the Nationals have made in their 16-day European build-up in Estonia and Lithuania. The Pinoy Cagers logged a 3-3 record overall in their tune-up games in the Baltic states, improving by the day and closing out the trip with a 125-102 rout of Lithuania's World University Games bound squad Saturday. What's truly impressive was the effort of the players, the effort to defend and dive for loose balls, but also the effort to play together. And I think it was very, very important, said Reyes. And like we said, the defense that we had from game 1 last June 26 to game 6 today, Saturday, was really already night and day. So all the work that we put in on perfecting our defense is starting to show, he said. That's not saying FIBA World Cup here in Gilas is good to go, though. We know there's still a lot of work to be done. We're still a work in progress, but I must admit I'm pretty satisfied with our last game, said Reyes. Although game conditioning has generally improved, health issues continue to bother the pool as it sets the next phase of the build-up back home. According to Reyes, Scotty Thompson, hand, and Dwight Ramos, knee, have to be tested and evaluated further. First order of business after the Eurocamp is recovery. They have to rest, and then we have to sit down with the coaching staff to take a look at the official medical prognosis of Scotty's injury and Dwight's as well, because these are very important in the decision that we have to make when we get back to Manila, he said. After a few days, we go back to practicing in Manila and focus on trying to stay sharp. That's the important thing as we continue to grow and develop from the lessons that we learned here in Europe and improve and then prepare tough games in our China series against full national teams, he added. And that concludes our news updates for today, July 10. Again, here is the summary of our updates for today. Starting off with our headline news. AFP PCG boost patrols versus Chinese ships in West Philippine Sea. Don't waste rice, order only what you can eat. President Marcos to meet with hog poultry raisers. And for a global update, Trip to China aims at avoiding miscalculations, U.S. top diplomat. And for our regional update, 46,442 Pinoys abroad register for next polls. Quiapo Church now a national shrine. And finally, in sports, Gilas improving by the day. And time check, it's 6:14. Good morning na po. Para dun sa mga papasok na, gising-gising. Magkape na, maligo na. Baka kayo mali. Lunes na po ngayon, hindi po linggo. Baka nagkakamali kayo. Baka namamali kayo sa tingin nyo sa kalendaryo ninyo. Ngayon po ay araw ng Lunes. Wala pong holiday. Kaya may pasok po. Maganda rin ang panahon. Siyempre, mainit. Kaya wear something that's light. Wear something that's cool. Huwag po tayong magsusot ng makapal at baka po tayo ma-dehydrate. At pagka kayo po may mga lakad, magdala po tayo ng panangga sa araw, sa init ng araw. Payong! Magpayong po tayo. Kaya dapat po pinoproteksyon na natin sarili natin sa sobrang init na to. At iwas-iwas po tayo sa heat and sunstroke. No? Para po doon sa mga may panahon pa para mag-relax at nagbabalak-balak pa na magtuloy-tuloy na kanilang bakasyon sa beach or wherever, huwag po tayong maliligo between the hours of 9 a.m. hanggang 3 p.m. Yun po yung kasagsagan ng init ngayon. No? Huwag po kayong magkakamali. Akala, maaga pa naman, alas 9 pa lang, wala pa naman tanghali. Hindi po. Mainit na po yun. At wag po natin pipilitin, ha? Baka po tayo maperwisyo. At ito naman po yung ating mga nanood ngayong umaga. Shoutout po muna tayo. Good morning, si Richel. Richel Tayag is watching. Good morning, Richel. Good morning, Brother Edwin. Good morning, Sis Julie. At yung mga nakasala pa, si Brother Sunny is watching. Si Sir Boots Bautista, Kuya Boots is watching. Si Popsoy is watching. Bro Rolly Gonzalez is watching. Sino pa ba? Okay, so yun po. At para sa ating mga TikTok listeners, thank you very much for joining me this morning. Dami pong nag-join. Si Notorious, si Aspect, Tagay daw. Aga naman yan, Brad. Good morning, good morning. Si Miyaka, Lucky Stars, O Lord, our Lord. Inararo, Taka Joyce. Joyce. Wow. JD Briones, Angel Canelon, si Beng Beng Beng. Okay, good morning sa inyo at maraming salamat sa inyong panonood ngayong umaga. At dito po nagtatapos yung ating live for this morning. And again, I'll be doing the same thing again tomorrow. And for Wednesday, yun po yung ating regular Agri-Talakayan. No? At baka meron po tayong mga farmers na bisita sa araw na yon. Dadalawin po natin, so meron po tayong field reporters. Ang ating Kuya Eric ay mag-field reporter sa Wednesday, kung sana po available na po yung mga farmers at para makapanayam natin. At syempre naman po yung ating regular na magkasangga sa buhay tuwing Sabado. So diyan na po nagtatapos yung ating programa ngayong umaga. Maraming salamat and God bless everyone.